other lobby in Washington that is so lawless as the Israel lobby. The amount of targeting of individuals within America that they do, much of what they do is actually illegal here in America.
I do not
And
believe
there
that for a
is,
second.
it,
No. I'm
it's
saying
true.
I'm saying that your description of this as like the military-industrial complex is a substantially bigger concern across the board than the Israel lobby. The Israel lobby is a fraction of the military-industrial complex
I mean,
lobby.
what conservative commentators tend to do is say that you're obsessed or deranged about it when you bring it
No,
up
that's
at
just
all.
me.
And
That's my thing. I made that up.
no, but that's been the common attack, on anybody who brings this up, is that you're either obsessed or deranged if you think it might be a problem at all.
No, that's a gross oversimplification. I think it's important to criticize Israel. I think that it's good that people criticize Israel.
Welcome to the new party. I'm Nora Christine.
I'm Gray Mars.
And I'm D. White.
Today on the new party, we're going to get into the consequences of being anti-Zionist. In that clip, we had conservative commentator Tim Pool discussing Israel and the extent of their influence in America. What's interesting enough, his boss, Julie Chen, who was a part of that whole scandal last week, was a big critique of the Israel conflict. Dee, what are your thoughts on that? And what do you think about the consequences of being anti-Zionist?
Like I said before in the previous video, I think that that's the one group of people who were not allowed to speak about, or criticize in any negative way at all. I just find it crazy that here in America, where we call ourselves the land of the free, and we pride ourselves on our free speech, that I can criticize my government to no end. I can criticize, the Lord and Savior if I chose to, but I can't criticize a foreign government. It behooves me. It makes no sense. What about you, Gray? What do you think?
I think with social media now, cancel culture exists. And so it's just basically like everybody can say anything, everybody can basically have an opinion. So people are suffering consequences for talking about different groups. I think there's been people that talked about blacks as well that have lost businesses or been canceled. So I think that this is just a new thing that we're experiencing because that technology is increasing and just more advanced where everybody can talk and put out their opinion. What about you, Nora?
Well, I think that we are seeing censorship at its finest. We're going to see some clips about to show the point of why being anti-Zionist is going to get you canceled. Um, I think there's a fine line between anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. Let's be clear. I do not support anti-Semitic comments. Because I think anti-Semitic comments hurts the everyday average Jewish person who I genuinely think are good people. I think the issue that we are seeing and the issue we are having is something called Jewish supremacy. Okay. And the difference is those that are in power have made it so we cannot question or comment on anything at this point. And we're going to take it back to 2020. We're going to go and we're going to look at comments that were made by someone who I actually really do like. I may not agree with his personal life choices, Nick Cannon. I think he's a very good man. Despite having 25 children with 10 different women, that's not for me to comment, but I do think he is a good black man in the sense of he's had a great career, a good trajectory that anyone could admire. But 2020, he said something that got him canceled, and we're going to talk about it.
Semitic people, and then we're going to get to the public enemy thing.
Right.
So I looked up who is the Semitic people, and there's a list of Semitic people, and anyone can do this right now. You can look up who are the Semitic people, what are the Semitic languages.
Right.
Has absolutely nothing to do with any white people.
Right.
Not at all. So in order for me to be anti-Semitic, I'd have to be anti-black man, anti-black woman, anti-black people, anti-Africa, anti-all of the people.
Because the Semitic people
are black people.
So y'all get that clarity. We're going to say that again.
Now,
the Semitic people are black people.
So I cannot be anti-Semitic. Now, what do they really use the phrase anti-Semitic to do? That's the thing.
To divide us.
Exactly.
Right.
So they put this title on you, anti-Semitic, and then they neutralize you
Right.
Separate who are the Semitic people, and then we're going to
Of your stature to really correct me. So I believe more than saying I'm sorry, which I am. I'm sorry for causing pain, hurt to people. But I need to learn how not to do that anymore. Of your stature to really correct me.
So Nick Cannon fortunately was able to clean it up, but let's remind everyone of the fallout after he had this episode with Public Enemy commentator that came on. He's a member of Public Enemy. He then was canceled. He got fired from his job at Viacom. They ended his relationship with Wild 'N Out. So with that being said, these are the consequences. I don't think he said anything too strong and too harsh, but I'm nobody. Obviously, what he said was hurtful. All he did was compare Black people to being the true Hebrews. Gray, what do you think about the comments that were said, and do you think it was worthy enough to be canceled and fired?
The reason I feel like he didn't deserve anything, he isn't the person that said it. The guy from Public Enemy said it. He said, just to clarify, you're saying this. He's not, it wasn't him saying it. And then nextly, I think like the argument that people should be talking about is why Black people say this. And we talked about this before. It's because of the
400
passage
years.
with Abraham where they say that they're going to be enslaved for 400 years in a foreign land. So like that's why people say this. And I don't think it should be so much controversy that's around it. What about you, D?
Yeah, I agree with Gray. I mean, that's exactly what the scripture said, right? It sounds an awful lot like what happened to Black people to me. You know, I'm not making a claim that we are or we aren't. You know, but Semitic, the Semitic language and Semitic people are more than just the Jewish. Even the Arabs are of Semitic descent. So, I mean, what does anti-Semitic actually mean? You know, how can they be anti-Semitic?
Right. And I'm an Arab. So how can I be anti-Semitic? And I got 2% Ashkenazi Jew. And I'm asking these questions because they are important questions to have, a conversation to have. I think the biggest issue that's being missed is the amount of influence that we have in our country right now. And that's what everyone is speaking out against. So I'm going to play another clip. We're going to shift gears here. We're going to get into more recent times, post 2020. We have some issues and concerns that we had with Fresh and Fit. We don't like what he said about foundationally Black people. I just want to be clear. I don't support what he said on that, but I will say I don't think we should be canceling people for saying things that we don't agree with. I'm going to play some comments by the co-host Fit, aka Myron Gaines, on what he said, and we'll see his reaction.
I'm just gonna end with saying this. We know who runs the central banks. We know who fucking controls the politics here in the United States, and it's a fucking problem, all right? We need to figure out a way to take our country back from these Jewish supremacists. I fucking said it, all right?
Oh!
That's what the fuck it is, all right? We need to take our country back. Because these guys are the ones that make decisions, and they're going to go ahead and do things in the interest of another fucking foreign land that, quite frankly, doesn't fucking benefit us. That's the reality.
Tommy's like,
America first, motherfucker.
Fucking elephant in the room. Censorship is fucking Jewish. I said it. Censorship is fucking Jewish. And for all of those that don't believe me, I'm going to go through it. If you guys look at the main social media platforms, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, Zionist Jew. Instagram, Adam Asari, Zionist Jew. You look at YouTube, Susan Wojcicki, Zionist Jew. Then you look at her sister, Ann Wojcicki, 23andMe owner or founder. Then you look at her husband, Sergey Brin, Jew, Google founder. Then you go and you look at Rochelle Walensky, the head of the CDC during the pandemic in 2020, Jew. Then you look at the head of Pfizer, who was pushing out these fucking vaccines, Albert Bourla, Jew. So let me get this straight. Back in 2020, and all the YouTubers in here know this, and anyone that was on Facebook or anyone on Instagram, if you mention anything about the fucking vaccine, what did they do? They banned you immediately. Well, how did they do it? Well, they had the censorship cabal. Susan tried to find different information on the vaccine. Well, Google made sure that you found CDC bullshit. Who was the head of the CDC? Fucking Jews. Who was pushing the vaccine? Fucking Jews. So you're going to sit here and tell me coincidentally that the fucking pandemic, when we wanted to get different information on the vaccine, which could have saved millions of lives, by the way, that they suppressed or banned people or canceled them for it, you're telling me that that censorship was not controlled by Zionist Jews. And this is just, you know what the scary part is? This is just a vaccine. We haven't even talked about 9/11. We haven't talked about John F. Kennedy. We haven't talked about R.F. Kennedy. We haven't talked about the USS Liberty. We haven't talked about any of this shit. We haven't talked about central banking. None of this stuff. But you know what? And I read an article about this after Wojcicki died. One of the things that she was very proud of during her life, guys, was banning people on YouTube that had anti-Jewish or Zionist propaganda conspiracy theories, right? So all these things that I mentioned have Zionist fingerprints all over them, 9/11, JFK, etc.
So the rant continues. D, what do you think about what he said?
We can disagree with Myra, but we can't call him a liar for most of the things he's saying. All right, and I don't want to say anything out of the way, you know, but I do not disagree. That's what I'm going to say. What about you, Greg?
I what he said is factual as far as people owning things, but I think the solution where we're saying we need to take it back, I don't feel like anyone is holding us back from being an engineer, a software creator, someone that can create something or work for the government or getting these jobs. If people worked hard and they were able to earn their position, they shouldn't be judged on their ethnicity or their culture and say, okay, there's some conspiracy behind this because I worked hard to get here. I think the Jewish culture values education and values work and money. I feel like that's the biggest attack on them is the taking of money, and that's why people are upset. So I think we as Americans need to just work harder. Don't find a reason, a conspiracy to blame somebody, but just try to take the positions of create a business for our own communities. What about
So
you,
you
Nora?
don't think it's a coincidence at all that all these people happen to get these top positions?
No,
Such a tiny percent of the world population just happen to be the head of all the major
Tech companies
businesses and tech companies in the
and
United States.
information.
okay, I'm gonna
Right.
use black people. So if I said, okay, all these black people in the NFL, the NFL 80% black, the NBA 80% black. These black people, they doing something. They doing something to be able to control the NFL and the NBA. Every year they get drafted more than anybody else.
We're genetically made to play these sports. Like,
Correct.
But what I'm
Correct.
saying is that it has information where a person could say that they are controlling something. So like that's what I'm saying. Like we value sports, like you know what I'm saying, with black men especially. Like if you don't play a sport, people look at you different. So like we'll play a sport and then we'll go on to try to go to college, and then from there we'll do something different. But most black guys start playing sports, so that's valued in black culture. So
Can I respond to this when you're done?
yeah. Go ahead. My bad. Go ahead.
No, the only problem with that analogy is we have evidence to prove why the NFL and why the NBA is full of African American people. The reason why is once upon a time there was this thing called slavery, and they used to take the biggest slaves and make him have babies with all of the women so that the babies would become bigger and bigger, faster and stronger. And they did that for 400 years, accidentally creating a race of people who were, I don't want to say genetically superior. That's not where I'm going here, but
genetically
physically
modified.
our physical attributes were enhanced because they did a practice called selective breeding, right? And that's why we run fast, we jump high, and we got big muscles. That's why, right? Because traditionally African people were slimmer, we're always tall, but we were a lot slimmer back then till they intervened. But we can't say the same thing of why Jewish people, such a tiny percent of the world's population, control not control, have powerful positions in a lot of the industries around the world. I don't think that same logic holds up there.
I, would you agree that Chinese, Indian cultures, and possibly Jewish cultures value education more than the black culture?
Correct, but I also would say that Asians traditionally score higher on all the standardized tests in America, yet and they have a much larger population than the Jewish people, but they do not hold any of the same significant
And
positions.
they hold more positions in these industries
Yes.
than the Jewish population. So that, you know what I mean? Like, you would think that they would get promoted like to those higher positions.
Well, I mean, I think there's some evidence that shows that in their culture they're going to control certain industries. And as we talk about, I don't think we've covered generational wealth on here, but that's also a thing. Like this company gets passed on and on and on and on and on. So that's another thing, that reason that this is probably happening.
But why is there generational wealth within that population, which is part of the issue of the power that people are questioning?
You said, why is there generational wealth?
I'm saying this is part of the argument. That's the point that everyone's making, that they are monopolizing certain industries.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like, I don't feel like there's going to be any other way, because people, most of the time, they work hard for their children. When the
Right.
olden times, they're heirs. So, you're trying to build something so that your child can carry it on. So, like, if one culture goes, Trump is a prime example of this. His family came, his father and some people bought all this property. And then Trump said, okay, I'm going to go to commercial property. And then next is going to be Ivanka Trump. Then it's going to be her kids and his son's kids. And they name going to be all over New York City. So it's generational wealth.
Okay. Well, the next clip talks about how Fresh and Fit, their little podcast, has been canceled. So let's watch the effects of the comments that he's made.
Our Instagrams went down. We found out, by the way, that our Instagrams weren't taken down because of anything we actually did, guys. It was hacked.
Yeah, it wasn't Meta.
Yeah,
it was.
We know exactly who's responsible, and they paid about $40,000 to get our accounts taken down. So we know that for a fact now, that it was a targeted attack to get our Instagrams taken down.
But don't
everybody.
worry, we'll get it back.
Yeah, we'll get it back. It is unfortunate. It sucks, and it's annoying now that we know that we weren't taken down on Instagram because we actually violated any terms of service, which we thought was weird because they took us down for a dangerous organization. I'm like, in my head, like, well, that's not true because we're not over here fucking doing anything to anybody.
I mean, I want her to fly, bro.
Yeah, like, that's weird. So now we know that 100% we were targeted. We know who the motherfucker is, the piece of shit that was involved in it, and we know
we had a show scheduled earlier with Psych Hacks, but we had to cancel because we got some really sucky news.
Crazy news.
Yeah, crazy news, real talk.
Yeah. Is this the end, bro? Because we got some bad news, man. I mean, when I heard that, I was shocked because, I mean, we love YouTube, man.
Yeah.
We love streaming.
Yeah.
And at this point, I feel like our whole lives are revolved around streaming and, like, adding value to people online. It's just like, it won't be the same, bro.
Yeah. It sucks, guys. It really does suck. Fortunately, we made some moves, etc. And we kind of knew that the type of content that we make, for us to be able to give you this content, we have to.
It comes at a cost.
It comes at a cost, dude.
And it won't be here forever.
Yeah. And
we knew that going
Fresh
into it.
always said this, enjoy us while you can. Channel has been kicked off the YouTube partner program. Just keep it straight with
If you look right now, you can't even super chat or
you can't even super chat right now.
Yep. So this is the beginning of the end of this era.
So on August 18, 2023, it was announced that they were demonetized off of the YouTube partnership program. Fun fact, they also are demonetized and not able to even have a TikTok. They don't even have Instagram. I mean, so the whatever powers that be have silenced them to the point where they can't even be on any social media other than X, which was bought by Elon Musk. D, what do you think about that? What's your thoughts?
I couldn't hear you. Somebody started calling. Can you repeat it?
D, what do you think about them being demonetized? What's your thoughts?
Oh yeah. That's one thing about YouTube is you have to toe the line. I mean, it's a very small space of the things you can say and can't say. If you hurt the feelings of the powerful people, they come for you. They come fast, and you have no recourse. There's nothing you can do about it. It belongs to them. It's their platform, and if they say you're off, you're off. I mean, I don't think it's fair. I don't think that they said anything derogatory enough to warrant that. They're not inciting any violence towards anybody. They're not telling anybody to go hurt someone. And I just feel like it's very unfair. But what can you do at the end of the day?
True. Yeah, like us being on YouTube, like we of course have to monitor what we say, and I think that's a good standard just around the board with all these social media platforms. With and like you got to be 18 or older to go on certain platforms, so you got to have some type of guidelines. But if you go look at X, X literally is the Wild Wild West. Nora sent me a message of Myron Gaines being called the N word in a white space, and he called him the F word as far as like the LGBTQ community. So over there, you can say whatever you want. So I mean, if you want to say whatever you want, pick a platform where you can say whatever you want. Well, what about you, Nora?
I just want to be clear. I don't watch what I say on here. I'm myself. I just try to be a really good person, and I don't want to do anything that would incite violence against any group of people. And I'm not saying that that's what they do, but I think some of the things that they say are hurtful and strong. I mean, he freaking was going around Miami over the weekend telling people women shouldn't have the right to vote. I mean, but just because I don't like what he says, do I not like it enough? Do I think he should be canceled? No, because again, he's not inciting violence against anyone. We need to get thicker skin and have accountability. I watched some of the shows from the 90s. Like I was watching The Office the other day, and I was like, man, if this was happening now on TV, this show would be canceled. I mean, cancel culture has gotten so rampant that we really are destroying the society with it. I mean, D, what do you think about cancel culture?
Yeah, 100%. I agree with everything you just said. I think it's ridiculous that grown people, for the most part, can't deal with being called names. And I feel like the whole no bullying thing in school, it started there, and now this is what's happening. You know, as a kid,
But
people
the
make
bullying
jokes on
is
these.
worse.
No, as a kid, people make jokes on each other. We talked about each other
Yeah,
moms, made jokes, and no one wanted to hurt people. It was just part of life. But now
right.
everybody's skin is so thin that if anybody says anything that hurts your feelings or you don't like, the first thing you want to do is cancel them. You want to stop a person from being able to feed their family. You want to pull them off the internet. You want to pull them off TV shows, whatever they're on. You want all the money to stop just because they said something you don't like. And I think that that's ridiculous. The fact that we kowtow and we let that happen as America. How can you say that we're built on free speech, yet the first time I hurt your feelings, I'm canceled? I think that anybody should have the right to say anything. I do believe that. If you don't like me and you want to say some very derogative things to me, I feel like you should have the right to say it. But you should also be prepared to deal with the consequences, what I might do to you or somebody might do to you. But I mean, I'm not inciting violence, but I just feel like we can't say that we really believe in free speech and then ban people because they say something you don't like. Free speech means
Right.
that they can say that the person has the right to say some stuff that you don't want to hear. It's not for stuff you want to hear. We don't need free speech for that because you want to hear it. No, you'll never get mad if I agree with you and say everything that you believe.
Right. I think D said the reason why they try to like limit is what he just said, that it's just a step away from leading to violence. Like it's been people on the internet that have traded barbs and said whatever to each other, even though like little video games where they talking to each other, like they had the swatting thing where they were sending SWAT to people's house. So like these types of arguments can lead to violence. So I think that they try to like stop it before it happens. Do I think that in some ways they're saying, okay, you're specifically talking about my people, and this is just one step away from you saying let's exterminate them like they did back in the day? Then I understand why they said, hey, we want you off this platform. We don't want nothing to do with you. They did the same thing to Charleston White. But I think the cancel culture started. The first person I remember getting canceled, I don't know if y'all remember, it was an older white woman. She said the N word about a bank robber, and then she lost a whole cooking show. I don't remember who her
What about
name
Paula
is.
Deen?
Paula Dean. She's the first person I ever remember getting like canceled for something.
I thought it was
Wow.
Rosie O'Donnell. Didn't Rosie O'Donnell say something first and get canceled?
No, Paula Deen was first. He's right.
Oh, oh.
Roseanne was right after. Well,
No.
let's see what happens now that this cancel culture is so rampant. It's kind of a long clip I'm about to play, but this is a great conversation between old Fresh from Fresh and Fit and this other popular YouTuber called Sneeko on what's happening now and why we need to be careful on what we say.
That you just don't want to talk about it.
That too. Well, hold on. My method is different from your method.
What's your method?
And his method.
What's your method?
Sit on the stream and basically ask the question of why.
Hey, Sneeko.
Yeah, what's up, man? I saw to say that, like, yes, I understand the message. I'm just saying I'll go about it differently. Because I wouldn't attack from the front. I would go from within. That's all. Trojan horse.
So how are you attacking?
I won't say that camera, but...
What are you going
well,
on
I'm not
missions?
attacking like that. I'm just saying, like, I have a better understanding of what's happening.
Okay, but so...
I'm in certain rooms.
But what are you doing about it?
I don't know. Nothing.
Okay, so you're not...
Just like you.
No, I'm speaking about it and waking people up.
Okay, and then what are they going to do?
And then they're aware and they know who to vote for. They know how to operate the world based off that
Both
knowledge.
sides are still doing the same thing.
They are, but the more people wake up, the more there's an opportunity for somebody else to come in and change things.
To do what?
To change the path of the country, to maybe to defund AIPAC, to get a politician in charge who's not going to be very clearly Zionist funded. So people don't show allegiance to organizations that
you're telling me
owned.
You're going to speak about the truth, which is very brave, but you're going to debunk years and generations of entrenchment in this agenda.
That happens every 80 years in history. In 80 years, Zionists come and infiltrate Jewish power, let's be real, and then people realize what they're doing, and then something happens.
But hold on. I asked him this question the other day. So, you said that Jews are the problem, right?
No.
But, okay, so what's the problem?
It's Jewish power. It's an overwhelming Jewish power, yeah.
Okay, cool. Jewish power, so to speak. I think this is happening. And the next question, why this is happening, is because the U.S. allowed it to happen. Would you agree?
I think they didn't know. I think a lot of people didn't know. I think a lot of people got blackmailed. I think a lot of people got corrupted by greed. And a lot of the people that set those decisions.
But once they find out, how do you stop it?
I just told you. You have to get people in charge. You need to have a lot of people in charge that are aware and that are not going to sell out to this problem.
But everyone in charge is a part of the problem.
Right, until we wake up enough people so that we realize what's happening. For example, Trump right now is very clearly a Zionist shill. He just went on stage today and he said if Kamala is elected, Israel will be no more. As if that's a terrible thing. Once enough people are against that, in the MAGA movement, for example, a guy like Trump won't get elected.
Can you blame Trump, though? After all he's been through, after what he's started with from 2016 to who he is now, can you blame Trump?
Well, it's not about Trump. It's bigger than Trump.
No. But politicians are all promoting who?
Yes, right now.
Exactly.
But eventually, what we're doing right now sets the stage for somebody else to not sell out anymore. That's the whole point of speaking about it, is to wake people up so that we don't have somebody in charge who's another sellout.
Okay, who is going to change this cycle?
It's not going to happen in the next 5-10 years, but there's people that are there.
Well, I'm glad you're optimistic.
I'm not. For the next 5-10 years, I'm saying it's going to be bad in America.
I happen to read the Bible, and it says the opposite. So I'm going with the Bible.
What does it say in the Bible?
Never getting better. Actually, it's going to be worse. But there's going to be one person coming, the Messiah, the Antichrist.
That's in the Quran too. Well, okay.
But it's all a ploy. It's not real.
Look, so you're first talking about American politics and then the end times that are prophesied in the Bible.
It's all the same shit. It's all the same shit.
We don't know when the end times are coming.
No, we don't know. But what's happening in the world today is a precedent for the end times.
There's signs, but you can't say that it's happening in the next 5-10 years.
No one knows the day, the hour, the century. Nobody knows.
Another 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Right. So certain cabal of people who reject the Messiah who are in charge right now.
Okay. Cool. But how do you fix the issue?
I just said it 3 times. You're asking the same question.
No. It's because you as an individual telling the truth, right? What do you become?
A truth teller.
Yes, but what do you become as well? You become a
real ass nigga.
You become a target.
A pariah.
Okay. You become a pinnacle of the truth, but at the same time, you're pushing others to do the same thing, right?
When you go to war, if you're going to assume that you're never going to have to overcome obstacles, then you're not going to fight very long.
No.
So you could choose if you don't want to participate in this, that's fine. But you don't say that we're not doing anything by telling the truth. Some people need to do it.
Okay. No. My thing is telling the truth, right? But then where do people that listen to you, where do they go?
To my Rumble page, to my Twitter.
I don't know, but what did they do with that information?
They operate the world differently. They choose what business to go into. They choose where to spend their money. They choose what politicians to elect. They choose what they believe in. They choose who to follow and who to not follow. What policies that they should be.
So this is Sneeko. And I don't know if you guys ever seen him. He's also a YouTuber who has now been demonetized. He was demonetized shortly not after Fresh and Fit was demonetized in 2023. So I mean, the fact of the matter is, unfortunately, speaking out and saying certain things is not very popular. I get what Fresh is saying. It's a little too late. Unfortunately, Fresh is a little bit more how should I put it? He's not as conservative with his views on these things as Fit is. He's more laid back. He's more focused on the business side. But the fact of the matter is, we are a team. They are a team. So what he says, unfortunately, affects him. D, do you think that it should affect him? What's your thoughts? And I mean, that was a lot that they talked about. It was an important conversation.
Yeah, they're business partners. So I mean, anything that one says, you might as well say the other one said. Because they're a package deal. It's Fresh and Fit, not Fresh or Fit. So that's just how it goes. But I think in that particular conversation, I take the side of Sneeko. I believe that yes, you can't be willing to go into battle or to fight against the oppression or the oppressors with that attitude that he has. He has an attitude that, oh, it's over, you can't do anything, it's never going to get better. He's already beaten, already defeated. So like you said, he's going to give Sneaker's going to give his message out to people. They can move accordingly. You can elect different people, you can elect different politicians, you can spend your money different. Because like I always tell people, you'll never get a politician that believes 100% the things that you want or is the exact picture perfect candidate. There's only two things that I don't like about Trump, and one of them is that he is a shield for Israel.
Right.
But hey, I take what I can, and everything else I love him for it. So hey, I just got to deal with that until maybe another guy comes along who looks at things differently. But right now, he's the best choice that we got. So what do you think about that, Gray?
I think with Fit, he's Fit or he's Fresh. He's Fresh.
That's
Fresh.
fresh.
He was
Fresh.
fresh.
Okay. He was trying to say like that by the way he read the Bible is why he believes what he believes, and Trump really has no choice. Trump just really has to just play ball with whatever conspiracy Sneeko was saying. I understand that where Sneeko was saying, I don't agree with nothing he was saying, but I agree with his tactics of what he's saying. And as far as Fresh saying that Trump is defeated and he should just play ball, I think that the conservative movement, if they just let go of this Jewish conspiracy, they'll do a lot better with the voters if they do that. What about you, Nora?
Well, I mean, the end times does make it clear about Jewish people. One of the things it says is that there will be a mass return of Jewish people to the land of Israel. I mean, we pretty much see that now. A lot of the people that were taken by Hamas on October 7th were American citizens that return to Israel or citizens from other countries that return to Israel. So that's already happening. Also, the Bible talks about the Antichrist making a 7-year covenant of peace with Israel. So, I mean, I truly feel we're in the end times. And another thing it says, Israel will finally recognize Jesus as their Messiah. So I think it all goes back to we need to come to a realization that something that is truly missing in our country and we need to focus on is getting back to Christ, getting back to foundational beliefs of having that moral compass. I think we're missing that in our country. So that's why these powers are able to come in and divide us. We are the United States of America. United States. We may not all agree on the same things, but one thing I feel like we are not united as a country. We are very divided. I think it's sad that as a Republican or as a Democrat, we can't have these conversations with each other. I mean, we can because Gray is very admirable, but there are Democrats now that I just cannot speak to in my own family, for example. And I mean, these powers, uh, Israel, Russia, China, in my opinion, are dividing us. And I'm going to say it. They are dividing us. They want us to be divided. They want us to be not in one accord right now. And the Bible talks about unity. And when you have division. That's the devil coming in to divide you and to create chaos and confusion. And what's happening right now in our country? Chaos and confusion. It's demonic. And I just want to be clear. That's truly what's happening. Going back to their conversation, I think Fresh is scared because he's not an American citizen. You know, we don't know his immigration status. So there's probably a lot going on that's making him fearful. So I can't attack him for his concerns. I understand his concerns, but I support Sneeko and I'm proud of him for having using his platform and position to bring awareness. I don't agree with the anti-Semitic things that they say, though, to be clear, but I do think we need to bring awareness to what's going on. So this brings me into the next clip and a conversation that I would love for us to have, and we'll talk about it after the clip. How is this going to affect the election? Because a lot of these right-wing people, and Gray, me and you talked about this, are saying that they're not voting for Trump. I'm going to play this clip and we can talk about it after.
I'm not.
So you're not going to vote at all?
If Kamala wins, there'd be no Israel. That's a good sales pitch.
That's not true.
W Kamala.
She's a hardcore bro.
We're voting for Kamala.
Type in track APAC right now.
Yeah, I know. I'm joking around. I know.
See, your brain dead audience doesn't know. A lot of you people are foreigners. And you don't understand how American politics works. You cannot be the filter of are they a Zionist or not is null and void because every single one of them is a Zionist. So you have to pick the person that's going to do the least damage and least damage. That's fine. You don't got to vote. Now, here's why I'm going to vote for Trump. So the other thing,
she's not tweeting this though.
I've heard her on press conferences say, "I'm going to give Israel the aid that they need."
This is not even anything about Israel. This is just demonizing Muslims. This is just making Muslims seem like terrorists.
That's gay. I agree with you.
Meet your new neighbors. First off,
that's gay.
1% of immigration is probably Muslims. No, 1% of America, the population is Muslims.
Okay, let me go into why I'm going to vote for Trump. There's a bunch of reasons why. Number one, foreign policy, right? Now, I know we are talking about, Trump is going to help Israel and all this other shit. This is what he's going to do. He's going to come into office. He's going to tell Netanyahu straight up, you got 2 months, motherfucker. Pressure on Israel to not extend this war any longer. And
he's shaking hands with Netanyahu last week. You know,
he's going to tell. He's going to
playing golf. They're doing 9 holes in his backyard.
Yeah, sure. But the point is that he's going to tell him, yo, you got to end this war now, right? That's number one. Number two, he's going to stop the conflict with Russia and Ukraine. He's going to stop that. Right? He's going to end that bullshit war, which we never should have been in the fucking first place. He's going to aid end to Ukraine. Important. Number three, he's going to avoid Israel expanding further into attacking Lebanon and all these other places. He's going to tell them, yo, you guys got to chill. We don't want to get dragged into a fucking war. Like, you guys got to fucking chill. Because he had Israel on a tight leash when he was in office and avoided foreign conflict, right? Now, of course, he had to play some games, the political games. Oh, yeah, we moved the embassy in Jerusalem, all this other bullshit. That's fine. But it kept the war away. It stopped the war, and it stopped people dying. That's the point. Next.
So, D, as the Republican on the call, do you think this is going to affect the election? Because let me tell you, I heard Nick Fuentes, a bunch of those guys saying they ain't voting for Trump right now because they're mad at what's going on.
Yeah, Nick Fuentes is a crybaby, right? We don't care about what that guy has to say about anything. But I do believe that this is a universal topic here in America right now because you know a lot of people don't want to vote for Kamala because of what's going on. Some people don't want to vote for Trump for what's going on. But I believe that it hurts it hurts the Democrats way more because Trump has a much stronger base. I believe that his base is galvanized, united. We got more independents than ever coming over. You know, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK. We got a lot of former Democrats who are voting for Trump and joining his campaign. You know, because he is definitely, in their eyes, the lesser of two evils. To me, he's the obvious choice. I do love the Democratic Party for what they've done by waking up a bunch of black people too. I mean, it's wonderful to see the people in Chicago and the people in New York speaking out against the Democratic Party. How they've drug them for so long and they're starting to wake up and realize what's going on and how we've been pushed to the back of the line there. So I like to thank Kamala and Joe for that. You know, I didn't think that would ever happen, but I do agree with what Fit is saying. I do believe that Trump will end the war that's going on with Israel. He'll tell them, look, man, you got to cut it out. That's enough. You're done. I do think that he already said as president-elect, before he's even elected, he'll end the war in Ukraine. I do believe that, and I believe he will also figure out some way for us to do business with China, and so it won't be so hostile. You know, right now it's kind of hostile between our two nations, and I think that him and Xi figure something out One thing that I always pride Trump on is that he is the master of the deal, man. He gets things done, and I love him for it.
I don't know whether to agree or disagree with D, because Trump does cozy up to dictators. So with Putin, I don't think it would have happened because Trump was basically helping him out. So it probably wouldn't have happened. As far as Israel, Trump moved the American embassy to Israel, and he did Abraham Accords. So I'm not sure if any of this foreign conflict would have happened because Trump was working with certain people. Do I believe that this will affect the voting? I do see that the far right is having a big backlash with Trump. But what I've seen in the polls, they're saying that Kamala Harris' honeymoon is over, that they're now tied in Pennsylvania, and that the energy that was coming from the DNC has slowed down. But the polls are so different that I don't really know was what. But while we was on the phone call, I did see that Trump said he's going to legalize marijuana. Now, I do think that that's going to hurt him with your typical white, uneducated conservative voter. So I'm not quite sure. The polls are all over the place. I would love to do a video of the polls to see who's actually in the lead. What about you, Nora?
I think that the legalized marijuana doesn't do anything. I don't think it's going to affect it. But I think that I know that he will end this war in Ukraine, and he will tighten up on the conflict going on in Israel, and hopefully broker a deal so that hostages can get released and there's a ceasefire. I do believe that. Now, shifting back, another group of guys that has been canceled and been very critical of Israel are the Tate brothers. Let's see what they had to say.
I don't want to make this very clear to my Jewish friends, because I do have many Jewish friends. That's not even a joke. I would like to make something very, very clear. When Tony Blair and George Bush, their administrations, decided to randomly kill 1 million Iraqis for no reason, I hated their administrations, but I didn't hate all British people and all Americans by extension. I do not like the government of Israel. That is no secret that I do not like the government of Israel. Stop taking personal offense. Just as if I were to say George Bush shouldn't have invaded Iraq, that doesn't mean I hate all Americans listening to me. We're talking about the government of Israel, I guess, will be listening about their influence on American politics, which I strongly disagree with. But, my Jewish friends and neighbors, please do not get super butthurt.
Wait,
I don't want to make
attention on Israel for the first time seriously in history is because the Matrix is broken because they control the Matrix. They control narratives. And the problem is the narrative's breaking to the point where they're trying to get TikTok banned because they can't lie anymore. So I'm just asking you as a Jew, do you agree that Israel seems to get a massive free pass for absolutely everything when any other nation state would face severe condemnation for even a half the acts?
So I'm going to play this next clip while we talk. Just to be clear, he did a spaces literally I want to say 2 or 3 days before he was arrested. And then this happened. The Romanian government then came and raided his compound again. Now, I want to be clear. Do I think he's innocent? No, I don't. I think he was trafficking little girls. I do. But the thing that's interesting to me is all these trafficking allegations were years ago. And all of a sudden, now that he's making certain comments, they're coming after him for it. For that, I have to agree. It's not a coincidence. D, what's your comments?
Allegedly, he was trafficking little girls. Allegedly. I do also agree with you that it's kind of suspicious that the moment he started talking about a special group of people, here comes the raids again. He was locked up. It's been going on for 2 to 3 years already. They haven't found any substantial evidence to keep him locked up, because he was released from jail. He was placed on house arrest. Then he was removed off of house arrest. And then they come and raid him again days after the Spaces interview that he did with Candace. I just find it very concerning that, we let people get away with stuff like this, because at this point they're not even doing it behind our backs, they're doing it in our faces. It's just a very big coincidence if you ask me. What do you think, Ray?
I know with law enforcement, they say there are no coincidences in crime. So I'm not going to say whether or not, it correlates like he said that they went after him. But I will say, there's a book called The Art of War. So if you did something and then it's a way that I can get at you without getting my hands dirty, people are going to use that as a way like, okay, you want to come with us? You want to play? Okay, we go pull this back from your past. Let's see how funny it is now when you are locked up. So there's a big possibility, but if you go after somebody, your hands better be clean, and that's what happened. What about you, Nora?
I mean, absolutely, I agree. And the last example we're going to give about the consequences of being anti-Zionist is what's going on with old Candace Owens. I mean, this clip right here, it basically shows both things that Tim Pool reviewed and analyzed. So let's watch it.
We're wondering what is disgraceful and what did Candace Owens actually say? In this clip from her show, Candace Owens breaks down her position on Israel, and I give it to you now.
There are a lot of people in America that are sitting here going, okay, well, can you answer why Jews are so special? Because as white people in this country on university campuses, we are being taught that we are not allowed to have a voice. We have had to endure exactly what you're talking about, BLM. We've endured much worse than you have because it's in the actual textbooks. We are being told that we are systematically racist, that we are born wrong because of the color of our skin. And if we say anything, we'll lose everything. This is the typical experience on white campuses. So people, this is not whataboutism. This is like actually what we have been fighting for years. So it sort of arrived as, I think, for a lot of Americans, a surprise when they're saying, well, now that it's about Israel, which is something that's overseas, we need to, for these last, I would say, 8 years of rampant BLM, white man can't do anything right, actively being taught in the classrooms. So there are people that are asking that question now. What I have said is that explicit calls for genocide, which was stunning to me to see that in Congress, are completely wrong. It is frankly crazy. I have not weighed in on the IDF's response in the same way that I have consistently said through every war, Ukraine and Russia, I don't want to be involved. I have said I don't want to be involved in Israel and Palestine, all these conflicts. My consistency seems to offend people, right? But I haven't made a single tweet or a single comment on IDF's response in Palestine. I haven't said a single thing about that. I have said it is always sad when a child dies. And the lack of humanity that I have seen from both sides has been very troubling for me. But to say that I have to weigh in and suddenly wave an Israeli flag and say things that, because you decide that you get to use my platform.
I think Candace Owens is great. I completely agree with her, right? So here's the issue. Candace says first, we've got universities in the United States that are teaching people that white people are bad. Okay, that's something directly right here at home. So a lot of people are saying it's anti-Semitic or you're critical of Jews and all these things when it comes to Israel. Outside of any political argument on morality between Israel and Palestine, the point is, I think the point that Candace is making is that why aren't we more concerned about the absolute racism here in our universities? Okay, that's her point. Like, I'm more concerned with that. I think I can't speak for Candace. I don't know what she's saying. My attitude is care about whatever you want to care about, man. You're allowed to do it. I understand and respect Ben Shapiro's position, considering that he's got family there. It's like directly affecting him. That's his world. That's why he believes it. Well, okay. I will argue where I think he's wrong when I think he's wrong. I said actually destroy the world. The issue being if Israel says I will not be destroyed, we will not be destroyed, and then retaliates with an escalation of force, it one by one pulls in a bunch of other countries, destabilizing the region and then the planet. My argument is I think the U.S. getting involved actually does that specifically. So I don't know if there's a good answer there. But, I got no problem saying I disagree where I disagree. But Candace Owens makes another really great point. I'm right here with her. I got to be honest. I've said something similar. I don't want to be involved in Ukraine. I don't want to be involved in Israel. The U.S. should.
So this goes back to the first clip, the intro clip that we had. He said he didn't feel like Israel was an issue. Not, this pretty much is a civil war within the right-wing side, right? At the top of the year, Candace Owens was fired by the Daily Wire. A lot of people were split. I mean, I think everyone pretty much was on Candace Owens' side. She was not able to make certain critiques and comments because it was against her boss's interests. You know what I mean? So, like, D, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I completely agree with Candace. I feel like she has the right to speak about whatever she wants to speak about on her platform. You can't make someone care about something that they don't care about, first off. And second off, she is speaking on behalf of the innocent, the people who can't defend themselves, the children who have nothing to do with any of this. They're just locked in a certain situation that they have no control over. They can't help it where they were born at. They can't help it that they're not allowed to leave, that their parents weren't allowed to leave. I mean, they're victims in all of this. And you know, she's not even calling out, eh, she's not making it as bad as she could. I'm not gonna say she should, as she could. She's just saying she wants the innocent people to stop dying. And I don't see how anybody can disagree with that.
Yeah, was that Ben Shapiro sitting right next to her during the video?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, she was talking about that the racism here with BLM and the attack on white America. And I think I want to debunk that because I feel like Europeans in this country just have a bloody history, and that they've been responsible for the extermination of Native Americans, and slavery had its place in time within that time. So that's just the history
Right.
that has been there. It's not necessarily they did it, but that's just history. So I understand where she's coming from, but I do think we have to talk about foreign policy, and I think that the U.S. has a better um, uh, relationship with Israel than they would, let's say, a Saudi Arabia or Palestine or Iran. Is it racism or some type of conspiracy attached to that? Possibly, but I do feel like, as far as being in the Middle East, Israel's probably the best partner that they could have over there. What about you, Nora?
I mean, yeah, I agree. But my biggest thing is censorship is bad, and we should be allowed to have these conversations without being penalized and worrying about losing our jobs. I think there's a constructive way to have it. Now, I'm not saying I agree with some of the methods that a lot of these guys that we played today did. Some of them are truly saying anti-Semitic things. I'm not standing behind half of what they say, but I do not think Candace Owens or Tim Pool, to be clear, is an anti-Semite. And I think it's horrible what they're doing to them at this point and how they're trying to cancel them and remove them. That's my closing words. Dee, what's your closing thoughts on this?
I got a question for Gray real quick. You said that you think in the region that Israel will be our biggest ally in the whole region over there. Why did you say that?
I would just say that Western culture is way more identical to what's happening in Israel than it would be in, I would say, a predominantly Islamic country where the religion is the main thing that runs the government, and the treatment of women, the way that they practice certain things, I think is not identical to what democracy is in the United States. And they probably feel like they can have a better negotiations with Israel than they would, say, a predominantly Islamic country where religion
But
controls the government.
but how does that help us? Partners exchange stuff. How does that help us?
Well, I would say in the George Bush years, senior and junior, it was oil. Oil was the thing that they were fighting over. That's why they got into it with Saddam Hussein, is because of the oil that was over there. What I would
Not
say,
not not in Israel. Israel doesn't have oil.
right, right. So with the George Bush years, but what I would say now with Israel is that the things that we talked about, YouTube, Google, all these people are of Jewish descent, and all these people have some connection to Israel. Even the guy that y'all voted for's son-in-law has a connection to Israel. So we have a lot of assets over there, and we have a lot of their people over here doing stuff for us within government and in the private sector.
So you admit that we need Israel, for the American companies that they own from American citizens, because those companies are founded by American citizens, not Israelis, not the Israeli government. You see the difference there? You're saying that they control stuff over here. So you're saying we should be friends with Israel because some of their descendants are, well, they have dual citizenship, so they're American and in Israel. So we should be friends with Israel because they basically control a lot of stuff in America.
Yes, and I would like to use an example of African American culture. I do feel like the U.S. does a lot of aid and things over there, probably because they have so many African descendants over here. So I do feel like the government does play political games where they'll say, let's be friends with this person, let's be friends with this person, so that we can have some further gain. I definitely agree with that. Am I saying that is right? No. But if we have a common interest and I feel like, okay, if I do this for you, this will work out for me, then I'm gonna go with that.
Okay. I was just trying to make sure that I heard you correctly.
Okay, for sure.
Okay.
DNC, if you're watching, please call Gray.
What?
Anyways,
what did I say that was so democratic?
it's all right. You're gonna protect us from not getting canceled. Anyways, please, tomorrow night is the debate. We're gonna be on Dana with the Data on the Man Up Show with Judge Joe Brown. Check it out. Gray, what's your closing words?
It's at 9 p.m. We'll be on there live. Thank you guys for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe if you haven't. What about you, D?
Nope, I'm done. Just always vote.
Always vote.
Bye.